So you started taking collagen. You were thinking, great, this is going to be amazing for my skin, my joints, my hair. You're doing something really good for your health, right? But then you get your lab results back, and one number, your triglycerides, has just shot through the roof. Today, we're going to break down exactly what is going on and, most importantly, why. It's a fantastic question we should probably all ask ourselves more often. Can something we're told is good for us, something we believe is beneficial, actually have a totally unintended negative consequence? Well, when it comes to collagen supplements for some people, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. And look, this isn't just a theory. This is a real-world example. We're talking about one person's triglycerides jumping from a really healthy 86 all the way up to an elevated 158 right after starting a daily collagen routine. That's almost double. This is the mystery we are solving today. Okay, first up, let's tackle that surprising lab result head on. We're going to see why this isn't just some random coincidence, but actually a pretty predictable outcome once you understand the reason behind it. So if this has happened to you or someone you know, the first thing to hear is that you're not imagining things. This triglyceride spike is a very real phenomenon, and we're about to put on our detective hats and uncover exactly why it happens. Let's get into it. So, to find the root cause, we have to investigate our main suspect, collagen itself. Because it turns out collagen is not your average everyday protein, not by a long shot. And here's the absolute crucial difference. You see, complete proteins, like what you'd find in chicken or fish or dal, they have a nice balanced mix of all the amino acids your body needs to build muscle. But collagen, it's an incomplete protein. It's totally dominated by just a couple of specific amino acids, and that imbalance, well, that's our first big clue. Just think about what's actually in that scoop you're taking. It's an incredibly concentrated dose of these specific amino acids, glycine and proline. And there's nothing else with it. No fiber, no carbs, no fats to slow things down. It's a very pure, very direct, and very powerful signal to your body. All right, now for the metabolic investigation. Let's follow the biochemical breadcrumbs to see how a simple protein supplement can actually end up creating fat in your body. So here's our first major piece of evidence, the glycine overload pathway. When you take a big old scoop of collagen, you're flooding your liver with glycine. Your liver kind of looks at all this stuff and goes, whoa, I can't possibly use all of this right now. So what does it do? It converts the excess into glucose, and then that brand new glucose gets turned into triglycerides, which are then packaged up and shipped out right into your bloodstream. Now for our second clue, which totally backs up the first one. Because collagen is an incomplete protein, your body can't really use it efficiently to build muscle. It's just not the right tool for that job. So where do all those extra unused amino acids go? Yep, you guessed it. They get sent straight to the liver to be converted into fat for storage. And here is a really sneaky third clue that most people miss. Even though there's zero sugar in your collagen powder, the amino acids themselves still trigger an insulin response. And what is insulin's main job? Well, it's the storage hormone. It basically hits the brakes on fat burning and tells your liver, hey, store any extra energy you've got, like those new triglycerides, as fat. So we've got the metabolic clues. We know how it happens. But these pathways don't hit everyone the same way. Now we're going to look at the specific risk factors that create a perfect storm, making some people way more vulnerable to this than others. These are the big four. If you're dealing with a fatty liver, a thyroid imbalance, insulin resistance, or, and this is a really big one, if you don't have a gallbladder, your body's ability to handle this collagen overload is seriously compromised. And the person in our example, they actually had all four. Let's just zero in on that gallbladder factor for a second because it's so important. Your gallbladder is designed to give you a strong, concentrated squirt of bile to help you digest fats. Without it, your bile flow is kind of weak and trickles out. It's just not efficient. So your liver can't properly process all those new fats it just made, and instead of burning them, it just pushes more and more triglycerides out into the blood. Okay, so we've wrapped up the investigation. We know the why. Now for the most important part. What you can actually do about it. And here's the good news. This situation is not permanent, and the steps to fix it are really clear.
First, let's talk about the dose. The brand in this case study, Vital Proteins, packs about 20 grams of collagen into a single scoop. Now, for someone with a sensitive metabolism, taking this pure high dose every single day, it's just too much of a concentrated load for the liver to handle all at once. Now, let's compare that to a much more cautious dose, somewhere in the ballpark of 5 to 7 grams. And you probably wouldn't take it every single day, especially not on an empty stomach. So you can see the quantity and the frequency matter a lot. This quote right here is really the core takeaway of this whole thing. Yes, absolutely, collagen can have benefits for your skin and your joints. But, and this is a big but, for individuals with these underlying conditions, it can put a ton of unnecessary stress on the liver, leading to the exact problem we've been talking about. So, what are some safer alternatives? Well, the idea is to focus on whole protein sources, things like lentils, yogurt, tofu, fish, to get that nice balanced mix of amino acids. And for skin and joint health, you can support your body's own collagen production with food-based vitamin C, and maybe consider small amounts of bone broth if that works for you. And here is the absolute best news of all. This is reversible. Once you stop taking that high-dose collagen supplement, your triglyceride levels will almost always return to their normal baseline within just 3 to 6 weeks. Seriously, no permanent harm done. I think this is the perfect way to frame it. Don't beat yourself up or feel alarmed by this. Your body just gave you a really clear signal. Those elevated triglycerides were simply your liver's way of saying, hey, this particular load in this amount is just too much for me to process right now. And that really leaves us with this final question. Now that you understand the why behind this whole reaction, you're empowered to think a little more critically. It's not about chasing the next superfood, but about asking yourself, what's the right type and the right amount of protein for my unique metabolism?